Go where others fear to tread this winter in the SUV that's built for it. The 2025 Bronco Sport with standard 4x4 capability. Right now, get $2,500 in rebates on eligible 2025 Bronco Sport models during the Ford Winter Break event. Visit Jim K. Ford today for details.
At Jim K. Ford Lincoln, we say yes!
Here in Canada, we don't just make lights. We craft possibility, connection, and celebration. Built right here by people who care about what they're creating. At Celebrite, we're made of all the colors of the RGB rainbow, each person bringing their own brilliance. Because when we come together, we make something brighter. Celebrite.ca, proudly made in Canada.
Once again, Greg, we want to welcome our great new sponsor, Midas. You can find your favorite location at Midas.com.
We talked last show, Steve, about the buy three, get one free on the Nexen tires. These guys sell every kind of tire, from the low grade to the high grade, any tire you like. But the best part is, no matter what tire you buy, you get a lifetime warranty on this sucker, right? If you get a flat, all you got to do is go into Midas, anywhere in North America. If they can repair it, they'll repair it for free. If they can't repair it, they'll replace it, Steve. Brand new tire, free of charge. All you got to do is pay for somebody to install it. Hit up a Midas and get some new tires.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. My name is Steve Warren. I'm the site editor of the Hockey News Ottawa Senators site and longtime morning show host at TSN 1200. I am joined by the coach, Greg Kennedy, who is the head coach of Team Lebanon and longtime junior coach. I was thinking about the Hockey News has been around since 1947, and you've been coaching since 1947. Is that about right?
I think it started in 49.
Okay, gotcha. It's our first holiday, our post-holiday show here on the Sens Nation podcast, and I wondered, as the Sens got going in Toronto on Saturday night, were they still in holiday mode? That was a pretty damn glitchy game, I thought.
Yeah, Steve, there are three things that you can count on in a Senator loss. That would be questionable goaltending, shoddy defensive play, and questionable or poor special team performance, either the PK and or the power play fitters or fritters in a game. And you had a little bit of everything in that game last night. Like, thank God we didn't record this yesterday, Steve, because I would have said the Senators were going to go in there and kick some blue team butt. And oh man, it was ugly. Just an ugly game from poor goaltending to shoddy defense to bad PK to everything. It had it all, and it's very, very disappointing. And trying to say that your excuse is, well, we were off for 3 days. Come on. You're professional athletes. Show up when you're supposed to show up.
Though I think there is a tendency. I think both teams didn't look very good. I don't think either head coach, Craig Berube and Travis Green, would be thrilled with that performance. A 7-5 Toronto victory. Craig Berube happy to get W's anywhere he can. So when you're scuffling the way the Leafs are or have been, they're firing their assistant coach last week in Mark Savard. When that's happening, you don't actually complain about how you get the W's. You just take them. That said, he knows his team could play a lot better, and certainly Travis Green feels that way as well. He said, didn't mind the first period, didn't mind the third period, but that second period was, he was not particularly happy with that, and not particularly happy with his goalie, because you rarely see, either to the good or the bad, Travis Green call out players. And when he said after the game that he didn't like the last two goals prior to Linus Ullmark actually being pulled from the game, that's about as chastising, I guess, as Travis Green ever gets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was, I don't know, I was amazed by social media going sideways about Linus Ullmark. He had, in the previous 5 games, he had, I guess, his goals against back down under 2. His win-loss record was pretty solid. And yeah, he had a stinker, but I saw so much on social media on Saturday night after the game, or even after he was pulled, that, and this is like, we're only a few months into his 4-year contract at $8.25 million per season, fans saying they're done with Linus Ullmark at this stage of the game. What do you think?
Well, I get where that comes from. You only have to go back to his predecessor, or was it his predecessor, or was it 2 before him? Eunice Korpisalo, was that the immediately before him, or was Cam Talbot immediately before him? I can't even keep up with it.
Well,
They've
he
had
was
so
traded for him, so he was definitely the one before him.
Yeah, there you go. Well said. But, I mean, look at him. Let's face it, a month or so into his time here, 2 months, 3 months into his time here, it's like, my God, this guy's horrible. Matt Murray, 2 or 3 months into his time here, my God, this guy's horrible. Cam Talbot got off to a poor start because he was injured, but he wasn't exactly the answer either. It really is a goalie graveyard. I look at Linus Ullmark and I think, okay, he's out of it. He looks like he's come out of it. But then the last game before the break, the Buffalo game, he didn't look that good and managed to get a point out of overtime, but then looked terrible against the Leafs, like the 2 goals Travis Green's talking about. It's like, I don't think Linus Ullmark knew where the puck was on either of them before it was over the goal line. Like, just had no clue what was happening or where the puck was, and he just did not look good. And it's expected, what is it? Goals saved above expected. He and Merilainen are like 30, sorry. It's like 50 something. They're like last and second or third last in the league as far as saving goals above expected. Combine that with the goals against average and their save percentage, and they're in the bottom 5 or 6 in every major goaltending category in the league. And that's just, you're not getting the playoffs with that. And the fans know that. Anybody who watches the sport knows that. That is not good enough goaltending to get into the playoffs.
And you're not writing off any of it due to the 3 days off where you're not on skates at all. You've and how shall I put this kindly?
Yeah.
You are not in a situation where your nutritional intake is standard. Eating, drinking, being merry, all of that. Probably not sleeping great either, staying up late, all those things.
Okay, but
Does that not knock you off, whether it's goaltending, defense, or just overall team play? Does that not knock you off guard just a little bit? Well, I need a holiday break too.
But the sample size, Steve, is October, November, December, right? Like you have 3 months of these 2 goaltenders. That's a pretty good sample size. And it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. And the ups have not been as strong this year as last year. Like when both of them were good for their stretches, Merilainen especially for his big stretch, but Ullmark had one where he was like 9-0-1 and Merilainen has his 11-game streak. When the ups were up, they were really up. This year, when the ups are up, they're not as strong and they don't last as long. And that's what's killing them, is that when these guys are up, you better make sure you make hay while the sun shines, because they're going to be down within a number of games, and it gets shorter and shorter. The time between good ones and bad ones just keeps shrinking and shrinking. So I think the sample size is what affects my decision more so than, yes, they're coming back off a holiday and sure they ate too much or drank too much or they didn't really get any work in until yesterday morning in Toronto. But still, the sample size tells me there's something serious going on here, and I'm wondering if maybe it's the goaltending coach who's going to be the next one to go. You said the Leafs fire an assistant coach. Well, maybe Jordan Peters goes because Sogard's stats aren't good. Shepard, Hunter, one or the other one down there in Belleville, like they're all bad. Right out through the organization from top to bottom, all the goaltenders are not looking good.
That's Justin Peters you're talking about, and he was actually the guy that comes in when, I think, in and around, they may have had a couple of goalie changes in the midst. I think back to Matt Murray, they ended up bringing in his goalie coach. I don't know if it was Justin Peters or if it was Zach Burke, one of the two, but I think there's been from the Craig Anderson era onward, I think that this attempt at trying to improve goaltending by way of a firing of the coach, the goalie coach, that's been tried before. And at some stage of the game, we have to start really assessing, whenever if Craig Anderson is where the line begins of goalie graveyard, and the Matt Murrays and the Joonas Korpisalos and now Linus Ullmark, if they're all coming in and they were all pretty well regarded before they got here, we have to start kind of changing our headspace and dynamics of this thing. It's probably not just a goalie graveyard. We have to start looking at common denominators. The guys who've been on this team throughout the goalie graveyard since about 2020 onward, and start wondering if they're pulling on the rope enough defensively to help their goaltenders. And the guys they brought in since then, are they the right component to work with, the sort of core that's been along through this whole thing. So it's Steve Staios has got a lot to think about right now, because not every goalie that comes to Ottawa is going to suddenly go from, whether it's a Vezina Trophy, whether it's two-time Stanley Cup champion, even Korpisalo, I think, set a record for most saves in a single playoff game. Like, they can play this position. It's more than just goaltending, I think.
Yeah, I agree. There's more to it than that. The shoddy defensive play certainly factors into it, and the system that the goalie comes from factors into it, especially in the case of Korpisalo, where he came from LA, where they had phenomenal stats of the defense in front of him. In a case of Ullmark, Boston was a top 5, top 6 team in the league almost his entire tenure there. So the team that plays in front of them plays a part in it, but it's a bad goal is a bad goal, and it's not every bad goal is a dumb turnover and a guy left open in the slot. That's a bad goal on the defense, but there's a lot of bad goals that are on the goaltender. Right? There's a distinction there. You know what I'm saying? That was purely the goaltender. He should have stopped that. As our old friend says, stop the stoppables, right? And that's what's happening here. It's a consistent thing. There are too many times when goals go in that just gotta have a save there, guy. It gets frustrating on the bench, gets frustrating up in the press box with the ownership and executive. It's just, stop the damn puck when you're supposed to, please. And I think that's a bigger problem.
All right, so this is going to take me back to my radio days right now, Greg. So I'm on the I'm listening to you, but at the same time, I'm also getting a note from Graham Nichols regarding Linus Ullmark in what is, as we record the podcast, we don't usually have breaking news per se, but right now we've got some breaking news here as well. Let me just share the screen. I'll grab, let's see, we'll grab...
Yeah, the screen. This is exciting.
Exciting. So here's the news. The Senators have granted Linus Ullmark a leave of absence for personal reasons. So now we get a little better sense of what may have been happening with Linus Ullmark and his performance on Saturday night. And maybe it's a bigger picture issue, but according to Canadian press here, as I'm looking at the story, because again, I'm just getting this for literally the first time. This is for audio listeners. I apologize if I'm redundant for our YouTube viewers. Linus Ullmark's taking a leave of absence for personal reasons. Sens GM Steve Staios announced Ullmark's leave in a statement on Sunday, saying he has the organization's full support. Staios said the team would provide no further comments at this time. Ullmark is Ottawa's number 1 goalie, has a 14-8-5 record this season with a disappointing .881 save percentage and a 2.95 goals against average. And he was pulled in the second period of the Sens 7-5 loss to the Leafs on Saturday after allowing 4 goals on 14 shots. And when you hear personal reasons, all you can do really is take a step back and realize hockey is secondary to stuff going on in your personal life, and wish Linus Ullmark well with this.
Well, that's what it comes down to. In this case, that's an emotional issue that's affecting him, and that's going to affect your performance, and that's going to allow for glitches. That's going to that leads to lapses in concentration, lapses in full emotional commitment, and you're going to give up bad goals. So that makes perfect sense. And was that Mrs. Wally breaking that story that I see there, Steve?
Maybe.
Yeah, I said Canadian press, right? Anyway, I mean that makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense. So now I just worry about moving forward. You've got Leevi Merilainen has not been strong. Matt Sogard has not been strong. So starting tomorrow night with Columbus, it's going to be interesting to see how long they're going to have to navigate through something here, and how well they end up being able to navigate through it. So it could be a difficult stretch here for them.
Yeah, no question. Let me see here. So this is the statement. Yeah, it's pretty much what I read earlier. Linus has the full support of our organization during this time. According to Steve Staios, out of respect to Linus, will not be making any further comments.
Yeah,
so,
typical.
Yep. All standards.
None of our business.
Totally none of our business. Absolutely. We're all going to be curious because we want this team to do well. And when someone has personal reasons, We saw with David Perron last year. Those were personal family reasons. You know, honestly, it's always nice to have some level of insight, whether it's just something you need to take care of, like Perron did last year with his family, and thankfully he came out and the family came out really well on the other side with some medical issues with his daughter, and so that's one thing. But then if it's something else affecting things from a negative perspective, it's personal reasons. But if it's something that's a big picture issue, if you're someone who wants this team to do well, it's always nice to know exactly where you stand in things. But I mean, from a hockey perspective now, that's a lot of pressure now that's going to be heaped on Leevi Merilainen. Like, he was kind of an emergency goalie last year, and that's one thing. And he did great with it last year. As now a full-time NHL player, as a backup, mind you, he's got the safety net of just being the backup. Now, with the number one role and the weight that you carry when you have something like that, it will be interesting to see what Merilainen will be able to do with that. And that's another unknown.
Yeah, we wish Linus all the best, and we hope that the Senators are in a position to, Senator goaltenders particularly, are in a position to step up and fill the void. That's all we can.
Yeah, no question. I did want to mention Ridley Gregg scoring in Toronto in the most fantastic fashions. Certainly it wasn't the slap shot into an empty net that pleased Senator fans so much 2 years ago, but the goal he scored in Toronto on Saturday night, where he basically takes everybody with him. It ended up being Philip Myers, who was really crowding Ridley Gregg on a pseudo breakaway. And so Myers basically jumps on his back, and he goes into Ridley Gregg, and Gregg goes into Joseph Wall, and all three of them go into the net with the puck. Apparently, I never really saw it go into the net, and somehow, some way, it was a Ridley Gregg goal, and so many people on social media saying things like, "That is the most Ridley Gregg goal ever."
Well, it was the opposite of, there was a goal this year called back, where I think it was a Stützle goal, where they were talking where there was a goal, first of all, that was allowed against the Senators under this rule. Then there was a goal I thought the Senators scored that should have been counted but didn't, all because of this forward motion, natural progression of the puck following through with the play. It goes into the net, and that makes perfect sense in this case. I think it was interpreted correctly. Really, Greg, yeah, you're absolutely right. There isn't a more Ridley Gregg goal than that. It was cool. It was all right. I did see the puck go in. You didn't see the puck go in the net. You actually did see it go in the net. Credit to Ridley Gregg, though. He immediately gets up. It's like in minor hockey, right? When they say, "Oh, go line up at center ice right away. Go line up at center ice." Force the ref to make some sort of mistake or something, as if that's going to work. But I thought that was pretty cool. He immediately gets up and congratulations on the boys and goes to do the fly by the bench and sell it as best you can, Ridley. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, I did the same thing when I was coaching minor hockey. I'd tell the girls, so don't give me this no celebration nonsense. If you think that puck crossed the line, you go bonkers every time. Because if you just try and play it cool and skate around the referees, and the referee didn't see the puck go in, you're not gonna influence him. You're right. That's how Ridley Gregg kind of behaved after that. So the Battle of Ontario. The Leafs win for the first time in 6 tries. It was a 5-game win streak the Sens had going. That's regular season, obviously, because the Leafs beat the Sens in 6 games in the playoffs. And what's the state of the Battle of Ontario for you as far as 1 to 10? 1 being like, who cares? It's just another team, and 10 being like, World War II or World War III, whatever. Like, just where are you at with Battle of Ontario?
Well, I'd like to think that if the Senators had continued on the progression, on the trail, on the path that they were on based on last season and making the playoffs, that they should have been further ahead of the Leafs, especially with the Leafs on the sort of downfall that they're on. So you would have expected the gap between the two to be a lot bigger if you look at the season Toronto's having and you compare it to the season that you would have expected from Ottawa. Well, that didn't quite happen, right? Ottawa's not on the right path so far this year. So really, they're closer in the standings. So to me, it is heated. It is revived now. It was all that long diatribe there, preamble, to say that you could make an excuse that it was dead and dying because the Sens are way better, but they're actually not. If you get right down to it and look at the stats, they're not that far ahead of the Leafs. So to me, it's on again. And you saw some of the crap going on in the game that shows you that, yeah, there's some animosity there between the blue team and the Sens, and it came through on the ice. It came through in scrums after whistles, and yeah, the Battle of Ontario is on again in my books.
Here's the standings here. You've got Leafs at 39 points. They really could have, put a lot of distance between themselves and really, push the Leafs further down. Like it could be Ottawa at 43 points and Toronto at 37, the standard 4-point game. But now the Leafs ended up with a 7-5 victory, and they're not out of it. They're only 3 points out of a wild card spot right now, and that would be 6 points out of a third-place spot in the Atlantic Division. And the Sens are at 41, 1 point back. So a win in that game, even a point, maybe not a point, but certainly a win would have put them into a wild card spot or a playoff spot for the first time in many moons. And when you look at this right here, Buffalo Sabres right there tied with the Florida Panthers for the second wild card. They have now won 8 straight games. And I understand the new coach bump, Greg, but I don't know about a new GM and assistant GM bump. Jarmo Kekalainen replaced Kevin Adams. And really, from a roster perspective, he hasn't done anything yet. And yet Buffalo goes on this insane tear. Any accounting for that?
Well, they had 1-2 in a row before the change, I think. It's not all 8 since Jarmo, is it? I think it's maybe 6.
No, it's not.
But the point being, it makes you, okay, I got to ask questions now, right? Was Kevin Adams down in the room every day? Was he down yakking to the players at practice, pregame, postgame? Was he in and around and it had that negative an effect on them that they're like, oh, thank God he's gone. It's much better now. That's my first question. And then my second question is, how bad was it when this guy was running the show that it affected the players to the point that it affected their confidence, their emotional well-being, their happiness, their ability to just go out and play when this guy was there, that now that he's gone, there's just this weight lifted off. And it's like, okay, there's some stability here now. Maybe we're going places now. We got a good guy in charge now. I feel better about that aspect of my hockey life. So now this aspect on the ice, I can just go play. So I think those are two of the factors there. How much Kevin Adams was around them and how negative he was when he was around them. And then how much more happier and stabilized the players are in their own minds with Kekalainen in charge now. I think that's probably got a lot to do with it.
All right, so in terms of the state of the Sens as we record this, to wrap up, let's look at the schedule that is ahead. And right now you've got Monday, they take on the Columbus Blue Jackets at home, and this will be the start of a 4-game homestand, which will take them to exactly the midway point of the NHL regular season. On New Year's Day in the afternoon, they'll host the Washington Capitals, and then on Saturday, they will host the Winnipeg Jets. And yeah, this is a very winnable game coming up against the last-place Blue Jackets, though, as we just talked about with the standings, there really are no easy outs, particularly when you're on the outside of the playoffs looking in, Greg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's remember, you are what you are what your record says you are. So everybody who's out there going, well, Columbus sucks, look at them, they got, they're in last place, terrible. Well, Ottawa's not too far ahead of them, right? I mean, same thing with Winnipeg. Winnipeg is stumbling and bumbling a lot this year, but not too far. There's not that big a gap between Ottawa and Winnipeg. And Washington, to me, is just, what a surprise. I never in a million years I thought they were on their way down. If they're going through the cycle, the window closed, and they're, moving into a rebuild or a retool on the fly. And instead, there they are again this year. So I don't care who you're playing. It's 3 games, and you got to come out and play hard. You got to play Ottawa Senator hockey and shore up the defense, get some goaltending, get the special teams clicking again, and get some dubs. That's all there is to it.
All right, let's take a time out on the program. When we come back, we're going to turn our attention to the Olympics. Rosters are coming out on Wednesday, so we're going to do 2 things here. One, we'll give you our view of the projected roster for Team Canada, and we'll also give you our view on which Ottawa Senators are likely to be representing their countries in Milan. That is coming up after these words.
Go where others fear to tread this winter in the SUV that's built for it. The 2025 Bronco Sport with standard 4x4 capability. Right now, get $2,500 in rebates on eligible 2025 Bronco Sport models during the Ford Winter Break event. Visit Jim K. Ford today for details.
At Jim K. Ford Lincoln, we say yes!
Here in Canada, we don't just make lights. We craft possibility, connection, and celebration. Built right here by people who care about what they're creating. At Celebrite, we're made of all the colors of the RGB rainbow, each person bringing their own brilliance. Because when we come together, we make something brighter. Celebrite.ca, proudly made in Canada.
Once again, Greg, we want to welcome our great new sponsor, Midas. You can find your favorite location at Midas.com.
We talked last week, last show, Steve, about the buy three, get one free on the Nexen tires. These guys sell every kind of tire, from the low grade to the high grade, any tire you like. But the best part is, no matter what tire you buy, you get a lifetime warranty on this sucker, right? If you get a flat, all you got to do is go into Midas, anywhere in North America. If they can repair it, they'll repair it for free. If they can't repair it, they'll replace it, Steve. Brand new tire, free of charge. All you got to do is pay for somebody to install it. Hit up a Midas and get some new tires.
All right, welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you being here. Hope your happy holidays are going happily. I should probably say, I hope your holidays are going well. That's an easier, more sane way to say it. Why did I just got? It wasn't really a good save at all. But let's talk Olympics. We are going to shut this thing down, the NHL regular season, come February 5th, I think, is the last run of games, somewhere around there. And then the Olympics get going on February 11th, running through to the 22nd. I got thinking it was a longer tournament than that because the Four Nations, Greg, that's obviously a 4-team round robin. And I was thinking that the Olympics would be a whole lot longer, but no, it's a 12-team, 12-nation, and 12-day tournament. And so here we go from 11th to the 22nd. And on New Year's Eve, that's Wednesday of this week, all teams must have their rosters in. And so we've got two things here. In a moment, we'll talk about what we think Team Canada is going to look like and talk about some of the guys that are on the bubble that we could go either way on. But first, let's have a look at what we project the Senators to be as far as their, what nations they might be playing for. And I've got 10 in all who I think have at least an outside chance. And most of them, I'd say 7 of them, I'm pretty confident, but there's 10 in all that I think should be under consideration, and here's our list. So I'll go through it for our audio listeners. Team Canada, Drake Batherson at 5%, Denmark, Lars Eller at 100%, Mads Søgaard at 80%, Team Finland, Nicholas Matinpalo at 75%, Team Germany, Tim Stützle at 100%, Team Sweden is Linus Ullmark. Now with the news that we had earlier in the show about him taking a personal leave of absence, that throws everything into, I might even lower the number where it was. It was at 50%. I actually had the graphic done prior to yesterday's game on Saturday night, the game that he was chased from in Toronto. I had him at 60%, I want to say, and now it's at 50%. Zetterlund is at 20%. Team USA, we got Brady Tkachuk, Jake Sanderson, and Shane Pinto. Tkachuk at 100, Sanderson at 90, and Pinto at 30. So as you look at this list, is there anything you have a big problem with?
No, I'm with you. Lars Eller and Mads Søgaard will both make Denmark. Nicholas Matinpalo will probably be in, again, it's 8D now, right? So I think Nicholas Matinpalo will play for Finland. Stützle's obviously in for Germany. He's already been announced. Tkachuk, I believe, obviously Jake Sanderson and Tkachuk, yes, but I believe Shane Pinto will make Team USA, and I think he'll be higher than 30%. And I think not only will he make the team, I think he'll play. I think he's in there. He's in their 12. I don't see him as being 13, 14. I think he's in their 12. I look at guys like, everybody keeps talking about JT Miller versus Vincent Trocheck for that last sort of spot. Oh, I think that's the American media I'm reading, and some people haven't quite noticed maybe what Shane Pinto's doing up here. Yes, he's injured now. Yes, he started slow, but then got better, then got slow. I think Shane Pinto with his all-around game, 200-foot game, 5-on-5, top line in the league, playing against top lines in the league. Top line in the league, statistically speaking, in a number of categories. I should clarify that. Plays against number one lines. Shutdown guy, kills penalties, can play in your second power play unit. Doesn't have to for Team USA, mind you, but I just think Shane Pinto makes the team. And of all the guys who aren't 80 to 100% on your list here, I think Shane Pinto's one who's in. Everyone else, I think you're about right. Everybody else who's 50 or less, yeah, they're not going to be there.
Yeah, I should point out that I put this list together with the concept of it's a mix. I think it's a mix of what I think is going to happen and what should happen, because it's not it's not just my team. I'm also predicting what Team USA might be thinking as well. And sure. I think Pinto would be fantastic on the team. I just think that America is just so deep that I have him a little lower than probably maybe some would, certainly among the Sens fan base, probably looking at that saying that's crazy. I'd be interested to know, does Batherson even belong on this list? Is he at a 0? Or should he be even higher than this?
Well, I think that the problem with Drake Batherson is he's in the group with like a Mark Scheifele, a Bo Horvat, Johnston, Konechny, Jarvis, Hyman, Tavares, Geeky, yeah, even Sam Bennett. I think all those guys are sort of in the same spot, same sort of group of guys. If he's in there at all, that's the group he's with. And what does Drake Batherson bring? He can score goals. Okay, right? He's not exactly a world-class 200-foot guy. He's not a PK guy. He looks good down on the goal line of the power play, but that's not where he's going to play. If Drake Batherson's going to make Team Canada, it's not going to be doing the things that he does here. It's going to be doing the things that Michael Amadio does here. And the USA and the Senators have a lot of people who do those things better than Drake Batherson. So I think that's kind of what Canada and the Ottawa Senators have a lot of guys that do things like that better than Drake Batherson. So I think that's probably why he's probably not going to make the team, and probably not really even all that much consideration given to him. That's my 2 cents anyway.
I certainly like his battle improvements and his defensive improvements, but it's just not quite there. I'd be happy to take him because right now, leading into Saturday's games, he had a points per game at 1.09, which was tied with Mitch Marner, who everybody says is a slam dunk. But it's not just the defense and the battle, which again I think are improving. And in fact, in the last month, I'd say they are damn near Olympic level as far as an offensive skill guy goes. But one area, and he's the third man in on the show, so I don't mean to just be a jerk to our third man in, but I do think he's a risk taker, whether it's his passing selection or his shot selections. Sometimes he doesn't identify those times when it's time to eat the puck or dump it in or make the conservative play. He's a risk taker, and I'd like to see him kind of address that as well as he continues to develop. But, man, I sure like the trajectory the guy is on and the contract that he's on. Holy cow. What an asset he has been for the Ottawa Senators, but asked about 2026 and Team Canada in the very best tournament in the world. He's just on the outside looking in. One last thing, there was something else I wanted to bring up. The Matt Sogard thing was kind of an interesting one in that he hasn't played a lot and he's been hurt a lot, but he did play for Belleville just before the holidays, and I think he's healthy, and so I'm looking at him at 80% just because Denmark doesn't have many options. You got Freddie Anderson, and then there's no other NHL players. Those are the only 2 NHL goalies or guys who have played at least one NHL game. I think right now Sogard is an American Hockey League goalie, and his stats are not very good down there. But when the rest of Team Denmark's goaltenders are in the I've never heard of you stage and have never played in the NHL, then Sogard's got to be one of your 3, doesn't he?
Yeah, and that's why I said he's in. And then with Linus Ullmark being out right now, Sogard gets an opportunity. Now, of course, he's not really going to get to play before the announcement is made or before the decisions are made. But if he's chosen and selected, he's going to get in some games here in the next week or 2 that will be helpful. And then who knows how he does from there, right? But by default, he's on the team.
I hadn't even thought of that to this moment. Who's going to be the backup? It's probably Sogard, I guess.
I would think so.
I don't know. I'm not thrilled about any of the three options at the moment. I'll be honest, just based on, you got a journeyman.
Right.
Yeah, you got a journeyman in Hunter Shepard, and you've got a kid in Jackson Parsons, the Embrun native. So but Sogard's numbers, man, in the American Hockey League this year, he's played, I think, something like 10, 12 games, and they're bad. They're just bad. So it will be interesting. Maybe they go out and do some shopping, or maybe Hunter Shepard would be probably the guy that I would call up at this point. But, he's not ripping it up either. But as we've been talking about with the goaltending position, it's not just about the goalie. It's about what's going on in front of you, and things have not gone very well in Belleville lately, though they have been quite a bit better since the coaching change. Anyway, so there is your Ottawa Senators list of potential Olympians. Now let us change gears here and stick with the Olympics. Now let us go to what the Team Canada should look like. Our Team Canada projection is put together by the coach here as to what things might look like, and there you go. I'll leave it in your hands, Greg.
Well, for the audio only folks, here are the forwards that we agree are probably in this team, 14 in all. Reinhart, Crosby, McKinnon, Celebrini, McDavid, Hagel, Stone, Suzuki, Marner, Cirelli, Point, Wilson, and the two extras, Marchand and Horvat. That, of course, assuming that Bo Horvat is healthy. I think if Bo Horvat is not healthy enough, then it will be Mark Scheifele in that 14th forward role.
Okay, so there's some pretty big omissions there, and I guess the biggest would probably be Connor Bedard. So I'd be keen to know why you don't have Connor Bedard on your roster.
Well, I think I've said all along that out of Celebrini and Bedard, you can only afford to take one, and I just think that Celebrini has shown to be the better 200-foot player, a guy who can transport the puck up the ice. I think that the things that Connor Bedard does in a National Hockey League game, in a 5-on-5 situation, he will not get the opportunities to do those sorts of things playing with this team, being up in the lineup. I mean, it's almost the same sort of thing we said about Drake Batherson. There are other players who can do what Connor Bedard can do, who can play higher up in the lineup, and there are guys who can play lower in the lineup who do the things required there better than Connor Bedard. So I thought all along only one was going to be there, and I've decided that I think it's Celebrini at this point in their careers. Plus, of course, Bedard's injury, who knows if he's 100% or not.
What about the likes of Travis Konechny, Morgan Geekie? Is it Morgan? I'm gapping now. Yeah. Or Zach Hyman.
Yeah, I think those, in the case of Hyman, he's a guy I consider for a long time. Actually, I had him on my original list back in like October, comparing him to the days when Chris Kunitz went and played with Sidney Crosby. But I think that Connor McDavid doesn't need Zach Hyman to be effective. So I think that kind of puts a dent in anybody's list of reasoning or Zach Hyman's chances. I think that Connor McDavid he'll survive without him. So I think that kind of affects Hyman. I think other guys like Konechny and Jarvis and even down into Morgan Geekie, I think it's a matter of redundancy, especially with a guy like Konechny. And that's Sam Bennett's in that same group. I have no Bennett. I have no Konechny. I just think with Wilson, with Point, with Hagel, with Cirelli, with Marchand, you got guys who do what Sam Bennett does. You got guys who do what Travis Konechny does. So it's a redundancy factor there. And you just, sorry, kid, we don't need you this time.
And the goaltending factor. You've got two guys that played for Canada at the Four Nations face-off. Now they didn't. I don't know. Did they play at all? Was it Binnington wire to wire? I don't. But Aiden Hill and Sam Montembeault, you do not have on your list. You have replaced them with Thompson and Kemper. I like the Thompson one. Kemper I could take or leave, but it was a joke that Logan Thompson wasn't at the Four Nations when you saw his statistics at the time of the tournament. I have no issues with any of those, but I'm curious to know as to why Thompson and Kemper go in and Hill and Montembeault come out.
Oh, strictly stats, Steve. Their stats are far and away better The other one to consider was there was another goalie now, and I've forgotten who it was. I was considering another goalie, but I think this is fairly easy, isn't it? Like to me, it's going to come down to whether Binnington's going to snap out of it, or whether Thompson's going to start. Like, who's going to be number one right now? I think that if you'd asked them in October, they would have said it's Binnington. But now, when you ask them in February, it might be Thompson. That'll be the more interesting question here. But I think those three are head and shoulders above any other Canadian goalies, and they're the guys.
And on the defensive side of things, really not a whole lot of surprise there. There's not many guys on the outside looking in where I go, okay, that's outrageous. This guy has to be there. But I suppose Thomas Harley, since he was at the Four Nations, would be the one name where I'd say, that I could see him sliding in there, but not so much where I go. Nobody on that list is what I'd say head and shoulders above Harley. I like Harley. I like everybody you've got on the list here. Did you ever have Harley maybe over the kid Schaefer?
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's again, for the sake of our audio only fan base, Taves and Makar, Morrissey and Parayko, Theodore and Doughty, Sanheim and Schaefer. And I really think that Doughty and Sanheim and Schaefer, more so Doughty and Sanheim, can be flipped in and out. I don't know that Matthew Schaefer is going to see a lot of ice time unless there's an injury to one of the more offensively gifted guys. I think Schaefer's there because of his stats. He plays against number one lines. He plays 22, 23, 25 minutes some nights. He just keeps getting better and better and better. And you can't not take him. You can't leave that kind of caliber of talent at home. But yeah, Harley was in for me. Chychrun was considered at one time. Brandon Montour I considered at one time. All in the Doughty slot more than anything. The Doughty-Schaefer slots were the two that gave me the most pause for thought. I just think you need a Drew Doughty there, a veteran guy, a presence, a confident player, a guy who I think will thrive. A guy who will step up to the challenge. This could be will be his last hurrah. I just think Drew Doughty has to be on your team, and I believe Team Canada would feel the same way, and he'll be there.
All right. So there is our Team Canada projected Olympic roster. We'll see how we fare come Wednesday when the announcements come down, and you've seen the Sens sort of roster of senators that might be at the Olympics. Nobody on Team Canada, though. Representing the Ottawa Senators. And, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note, sensnationpodcast@outlook.com. If you have some strong opinions on either front, we would absolutely love to hear them. We'll talk about them in our next episode because we will do one more show coming up on Tuesday night of this week. So we'll have one more show before the announcements actually do come down. So, that's how things look there. And let's stop sharing this for our YouTube listeners here. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Still getting used to this whole new setup here, but there we are. We're back to good to go. And the World Juniors to close things out today. Canada off to a fine start, though most people seem to be talking. What's that?
Whoa, fine start.
Yeah. Not. Anyway, the thing I wanted to bring up was how many people were talking about the lack of a handshake at the end of the Czechia game.
Yeah.
Did that faze you at all?
I think they just forgot. The problem is that you're so used to, if you're going to shake hands, you do it as soon as the game ends. But in international play, you do it after the anthem, after the awards. Like the game's over, go to your goalie, then you go to your blue line, then you have the Player of the Game awards, then you have the anthem, then you shake hands. So just the ordering of things screwed them up. I mean, it's you can't go back to the old days. Remember Team Canada 72, Game 1 in Montreal, Canada didn't stay on the ice and shake hands, but that was because they didn't know they're supposed to. I think in this case it was just the order of things screwed them up and they forgot. It's no big political issue or anything, I don't think, in my mind.
Yeah. So Canada apologizes. I agree. And I think about all the things that, I'm scrolling through and I didn't realize it even happened at the time, but I see that. And these days with all the nonsense in the world, a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old kids forgetting in their first game to shake hands with Czechia. Not ideal. Somebody on Dale Hunter's staff should have noticed that and rectified it, but they apologized, and not the biggest sin in the world for sure. Hockey Canada apologizing for something. We all know that is by you know again. I'm just gonna leave it there. But as far as the games go, yeah, they've had tight one against Czechia, and they win in overtime over Latvia. So they're living dangerously, and they've only really taken on. I mean, Czechia is obviously a good nation and everything, but Latvia, whew, this is not. This is I have one of two thoughts. On the one hand, you shouldn't be struggling against a hockey minnow. The other side is the fear of God that game may have put into them may serve them well moving on in the tournament.
For sure. Yeah, I'm with you on the second thought. I'm with you. I agree with you on both points. That's a team that plays the kitty bar the door all game long. As the coach put it, if you got a gun with 1,000 bullets in it, you use it a little more often. But we've only got a gun with 10 bullets, so we got to be picky, choosy about when we're going to do things. And Latvia played their game to perfection, right? They just clog the neutral zone. They back check hard, man. They collapse in and defensively in their own zone. They don't give you much all night long. So okay, you're gonna get a game like that. But still, I would like to have seen the offense. The offense that clicked. Game 1 scored 7 against Czechia after only scoring 13 in the entire tournament last year. Nice to see them score 7 in Game 1. Giving up 5, not so good. But 7 goals in Game 1 against Czechia. That tells you something about Czechia's defense versus Latvia's, I think. So keep an eye on Latvia and how they perform in other games. Bunch of 2-1 losses or maybe a 2-1 win in here or there. But Canada will be okay. They got their easiest game now, I guess. It's Denmark, I think, tomorrow. And they'll be okay. They'll be advancing this year.
So I'm curious. This has nothing to do with hockey. You're a kitty by the door kind of guy, not a Katie by the door.
Well, no, it's kitty bar the door.
Did I say by?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I meant to say bar. I
Okay,
was more focused on the kitty versus Katie bar at the door. Because kitty, I think of a cat,
Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it?
blocking the door. I know it was a kitty or Katie being an old Western. Like Miss Kitty in Gunsmoke, for example, she owned the bar in town. Is she like being told by Matt Dillon, the sheriff, to bar the door? I always have an interest in where these idioms come from and how often they're butchered. And I wasn't sure one way or the other whether you butchered them or not in this case.
Well, now you got me wondering. Because the one that I hate is the down the pipe. No, it came down the pike.
Exactly.
It's a pike, right?
Yeah.
We all know that one.
Yeah.
Kitty bar the door. Here we go.
Because kitty is
Kitty
the name.
bar the door or Katie bar the door is an American phrase, especially common in the South, meaning watch out, trouble's coming, or batten down the hatches, signaling impending chaos or a big fight, often linked to Scottish folklore and a woman named Katie Catherine Douglas trying to block intruders.
There you go.
So either one is acceptable, Kitty or Katie, but it looks like the original would have been Katie. But I've always been Kitty and you've always been Katie.
No, I've always been curious as to which one is appropriate because for the name Catherine, both of them can work as a nickname.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've just lost all of our listeners, so that's probably a good time to close it out today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us today. Thanks to our great partners, our title sponsor, Jim K. Ford. Thanks as well to Celebrate Permanent Holiday Lighting. We want to thank Harding, your home comfort center, and our friends at Midas Auto. Do I call them auto repair? Midas Auto Repair in Ottawa?
Midas Auto Repair in Ottawa. That sounds good.
I like
5 Ottawa area Midas locations.
We've said it all. We've done it all. Let's call it quits. Thank you for being with us. Don't forget the Hockey News, also a sponsor of the program, thn.com/Ottawa. I'm the site editor over there, part of the ecosystem that this all is. And our website is sensnationhockey.com. Every link you need as far as this show goes, it can be found there. So check that out. Greg, enjoy. It's not New Year's. I was going to say Happy New Year's, but we will be getting back together, I guess, on what is that?
New Year's.
Yeah, exactly. That's the night before New Year's Eve. So we look forward to that. Thank you for being with us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk to you soon, Greg.
See you, buddy. Thanks.